So I'd like to tell you guys a story about an adventure that my wife Ava and I had recently. On paper, it's a story about sword fishing in Italy, but it's also a lot more than that. It's a story about a place, about a people, about their traditions, and ultimately about one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. I don't even know what I'm gonna call this video. It doesn't really lend itself to the YouTube algorithm. Before I tell you the story, I need to tell you about the city in which it takes place. That city is Bagnara Calabra. It's a little seaside city on the coast of Calabria, very, very far south, almost down to the tip, right across from Sicily. So here is Bagnara, and there is Sicily. And we went there on this year's spring Pastagrammer tour. Bagnara is a very cool place. So cool, in fact, that I almost hesitated to make this video because I kind of wanted to keep it our little secret. It's rare in Italy to find a city that is right off the highway, has a beach like this, a view like this, and an incredible food tradition, but without a single other tourist in sight. It is an Italian seafood capital. They fish for all kinds of amazing stuff here, but most particularly swordfish. So this is where our little adventure takes place, and it only happened because of a new philosophy that I have started to adopt when it comes to traveling. That philosophy is to say yes to every opportunity. I've always been a very structured, organized person. I had a plan, and I would stick to it. And that's also how I used to travel. But Ava has taken me on a lot of really incredible adventures, whether it's meeting an Albanian-Italian prince in Cività, or going on a wild 2-day goose chase looking for an extremely rare cheese in Basilicata. And I have learned the power of letting go of my previous plans and just saying yes to things that happen. And yes, I am aware that this is the plot from a Jim Carrey movie. So it all started when one night, after a day on the Pastagrammer tour, I was up in our hotel room and Ava texted me and she said, "Hey, come down to the bar." Now, it had been a long day. I was pretty tired. I was planning on going to bed, but instead of saying no, I said yes. So I go down to the bar and find out that Ava has met a group of fishermen, Bagnara fishermen. And that's really where the adventure begins. But before I jump into it, a brief word about today's video sponsor, Rosetta Stone. Coming back to Italy after 6 months away, I was really worried that my Italian skills would have fallen behind, but actually it's been the complete opposite. I'm speaking more confidently than ever, which is very helpful when you're going on culinary adventures where you don't know what's gonna happen next. I attribute a lot of this improvement to the fact that I've been practicing daily with Rosetta Stone. Half of the battle when trying to speak in a foreign language is just summoning the courage to actually talk to people. That's why I love Rosetta Stone's immersive approach. Rather than just memorizing a bunch of out-of-context vocabulary, Rosetta Stone gets you speaking right away in an intuitive conversational manner. You're not just practicing the same sentences over and over, you're constantly having to apply your skills in new and unexpected ways, just like real life. With a powerful pronunciation engine that provides helpful feedback, you can be sure that a native speaker will understand you.
Lui ha giocato a calcio.
Every language has a lot of very common phrases that are really important to know, and that's why Rosetta Stone offers some very helpful phrase books that you can use in everyday conversations. If you've always wanted to learn a new language, then visit our link down in the description below. There you can choose to learn one language, or you can take advantage of Rosetta Stone's incredible deal where you will get lifetime access to all 25 languages they offer. Thanks for checking it out, and a big thank you to Rosetta Stone for sponsoring today's video. So Ava and I chatted to these Bagnara fishermen for a little while. They were very cool guys, and then they asked us to join them for dinner. They said that they wanted to take us to a restaurant where they had just brought their fresh catch of the day to, but I'm not gonna lie, I was still pretty tired. I had already eaten dinner, but I had to say yes. So we go into this restaurant and we're immediately greeted by the chef. I mean, of course they know the chef. They bring him his fresh fish every day. And we were treated to the most incredible tasting menu, all fresh seafood, all amazing. We had raw tuna, marinated anchovies, seafood couscous, couscous, shrimp, tuna fish meatballs, some kind of like potato cake with swordfish in it, fried bacala. I can't even remember everything we had, but everything was delicious. Walking back from the restaurant, Ava and I started talking to these guys about fishing, specifically how they fished for swordfish. And once they saw that we were pretty interested in it, they said, "Why don't you come back next week and go fishing with us?" And I said, yes. So we came back the next week, but we were not alone. Our good friend Maria, who lives here in Dasa, came with us.
Hello.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
As did her younger sister, Caterina. Caterina, even though she's of no relation to us, she's kind of like our niece. But we also had my uncle Matt. Matt is a very accomplished archaeologist and anthropologist, and he's also an avid seafood enthusiast. I emailed him because he was going to be traveling through Europe anyway, and I said, "Hey, do you want to come?" And he has been studying the Harper philosophy of travel, and he said yes. So together we all drove down to the port, and that's when we first saw the sword fishing boat up close.
That is even more insane up close.
Now would probably be a good time for me to explain how sword fishing in Bagnara works. The first thing you'll notice is that the boat has this huge, towering mast. It also, out of the front, has this very long walkway, a big boom, that just stretches way out over the water. 2 or 3 guys will climb up into the crow's nest on top of the mast, and as the boat sails around, their job is to literally look for swordfish. Meanwhile, way out on that walkway, at the very end, is a guy who is armed with a large harpoon tipped with some very nasty looking spikes. Yep, that's right, they harpoon swordfish. It's like Moby Dick, but with swordfish. I realize that probably some of you think that this seems cruel. If you do, it means that you don't know how normal sword fishing works. Going out on a boat where it is man versus fish, and you don't have any fancy fish finders, and you're not just putting out tons of buoys just full of baited lines to catch whatever bites it, that's a lot less cruel. Now, Moby Dick is one of my favorite books of all time, so you can understand that I was pretty excited as we headed out from port and hit the open seas.
Do you get seasick?
No.
That's good.
I got it.
Everyone was excited. We were all in very good spirits. Very good, optimistic spirits. The spotters climbed up into the crow's nest. The harpooner, who I will just call Captain Ahab from now on, he started to pace the walkway, and the hunt was on. At this point, we asked Antonio, who was the owner of the boat, how many swordfish in a typical day of sword fishing one might catch. 3 to 5. That is not a lot of fish. 3 to 5 fish in a fishing day that lasts from before the sun rises till after the sun sets, and we were only going to be with them for a few hours. That's when we realized that this was not going to be, oh look, another swordfish every 3 minutes. Yeah, so the long wait began. I mean, there are worse ways to spend your afternoon than a boat ride around the coast of Calabria, but we did have to find some things to do. Crossword puzzles were completed. Caterina gave me a ponytail, and some of us even started to play around on the I don't even know what you call it, the walkway, the boom.
Oh, your mom is gonna kill me. Your mom is gonna absolutely kill me.
Absolutely true.
All of a sudden, way up in the crow's nest, the guys started shouting, they started pointing at something. I couldn't understand exactly what they said, but the boat sped up, the harpooner went out to the end of the walkway, and it was pretty clear that they had seen something. Everything got super tense, we were all waiting and watching the harpooner. The boat was cruising around, it would move in one direction, then another. Clearly it was chasing something. But then, after a few minutes, Captain Ahab just came back, and he told us that the swordfish had went deeper. so they couldn't see it anymore. So it was a false alarm. Shortly after that, it was sadly time to head back to shore. I'm not gonna lie, everyone was pretty disappointed. You know when you go out fishing that you might have bad luck. And granted, we had this beautiful boat ride, but we all knew deep down that we really wanted to see a swordfish. I remember thinking as we got off the boat, like, man, maybe that was a waste of time. Maybe I shouldn't have said yes. Maybe my yes philosophy is not working out. But I wasn't about to abandon my philosophy yet, because then the fisherman said, hey, come over here and get on this other boat. It was a totally different boat. It wasn't a sword fishing boat, and none of us had any idea what was happening, what was going on. Are they going to take us back out fishing again for something else? Not exactly. You see, we got on this boat and realized that the fishermen had felt bad about the fact that we didn't get to see a swordfish. So without us asking or saying anything, without even telling us, they had called in 2 cooks who work at a restaurant that they deliver fish to come meet us at the port and come cook fresh swordfish for us on this boat. And that's exactly what they did. They made a version of one of my favorite seafood dishes of all time. It's called pesce spada alla siciliana, or Sicilian swordfish. Don't be fooled by the name, you can find it outside of Sicily too. And it's actually one of the recipes from our brand new cookbook, The Italian Family Kitchen, which is available for pre-order. You can check out the link down below. What they did though that was cool was sort of a modern reimagining of this dish. So what they did was they seared this very big, beautiful chunk of swordfish, but instead of cooking it in a sauce of usually like cherry tomatoes, olives, capers, they smothered the whole thing in a tomato sauce, then topped it with olives and crumbled dried capers, which were really good, and then added some basil leaves on top. Very simple dish, very elegant, very delicious.
Buono?
Buonissimo, no? Buono, è buonissimo. Strepitoso, davvero, eh.
Wow, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. But just to make sure.
So we had this incredible lunch on this boat. They just treated us to this amazing meal. And by this point, after a day of being out on the water, being totally stuffed with swordfish, I was thinking like, okay, I'm tuckered out, it's time to go home now. But they weren't done yet. One of the fishermen said, come with me, I want to take you to my nonna's house. What do you think I said? So we go into the heart of Bagnara and enter this garage, and there we meet 2 incredible Italian grandmothers.
This town, the women from this town, they were famous all over Calabria. They are very strong women. They work a lot, they are very strong. So for us it's a symbol of strengthness, good humor, good job.
And without knowing us, without anything being planned, without knowing we were arriving, they just brought us in and sat us down in their kitchen, like we were old friends or something.
Questa è la Madonna che abbiamo in chiesa noi, Marineria, Girone Mascatori, questa qua. Quando viene questa qua a pregare tutti i pescatori, mi vanno a mare e mi prendono i pesci. Maria Portosacco, guardi le tune e poi ci prega grande per tutti.
So that was probably our problem and why we didn't catch any swordfish. None of us thought to pray beforehand. Nonna Francesca jumped right into making another amazing dish, tuna fish meatballs. It all starts simply with some boiled tuna, which she crumbled up. Then she added a bunch of Parmigiano cheese, breadcrumbs, parsley, a little garlic, salt, and pepper. Now, Eva has made this recipe before, and I will put a link down below. However, we both agreed that their secret is worth trying. They add grated provola cheese, or provolone cheese, as we would say in America, and believe me, that takes things up to the next level. So if you ever want to try this recipe, try adding some provola cheese. And of course, finally, you add some eggs to hold it all together. This whole time while they were making the meatballs, more and more like family and friends started coming in. Ciao.
I pesci. Eccolo. Eccolo, ciao, facci ciao, ciao. Ciao.
It was turning into quite the impromptu Calabrian party. The best kind of party. Even the chefs from the boat came. They wanted some of Nonna's meatballs. Then they started frying the meatballs, and boy, did the smell in that room become amazing.
Wow, oh, that's so good.
Mangiano.
Oh, man.
E non lo potevo no.
So good, so good.
Come dici? Che dici?
After we absolutely stuffed ourselves with fried meatballs, then they started taking meatballs and cooking them in a delicious tomato sauce. The meatballs just kept coming and coming, but as you should know by now, I'm not going to say no.
Stovine belle e fine, portato di una lunga via, ci faccio un brindisi a tutta sta compagnia.
This is the best about visiting Italy. People can be so generous and they're such amazing hosts. And if you express interest in what people are doing, and if you say yes to opportunities, chances are, even if what you planned for a day doesn't happen, something better just might come along.
I cose belle chiste sono.
It was sad to say goodbye, but we left the house, and now we truly thought the day was over. We thought, I mean, there is no more room in our bellies. We can barely move at this point. But then Antonio asked us if we wanted to go try one more thing.
So what's the magic word today?
Yes.
And that's how we found ourselves sitting in a gelateria with some incredible brioche in front of us and a whole bunch of granita to dip it into. It was quite simply an amazing day in an amazing place with absolutely incredible people. The kind of people who, after giving you so much already, can't let you leave without giving you some fresh swordfish to take home.
So I have become comfortable, very comfortable with the uncertainty, right? You just wait and, you know, something good will happen. Like there, we just waited and beautiful swordfish showed up. Eventually.
Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And if you haven't already, I hope that this story encourages you to let go a little bit and just say yes. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Sono bello?
Shogun.